The storm hit the city hard that night. Rain poured down in sheets, and cold wind cut through the empty streets like knives. Sophia pulled her thin jacket tighter around her body, but it did nothing to stop the freezing air. Her shoes were soaked through, and her feet ached from walking for what felt like hours. She had no choice but to run. 2 men had been following her since she left her apartment. Men sent by a debt collector who worked for dangerous people. Her late father had left behind debts she never knew about, and now those debts had become her problem. Tonight, those men had finally cornered her near her building, and she barely escaped through a back alley, her heart pounding with fear the entire time. Now, hours later, she was lost in an unfamiliar part of the city, soaked, exhausted, and terrified. Every shadow looked like danger. Every sound made her flinch. Just when she thought she could not walk any further, she saw it. A massive iron gate standing tall against the stormy sky, and beyond it, a huge mansion with lights glowing warmly from its windows. It looked like something from another world, completely out of place in the dark, empty area surrounding it. Sophia hesitated. Something about the mansion felt intimidating, almost dangerous. But the storm was getting worse. Her body was shaking from the cold, and she had nowhere else to go. She needed help, any help, even if it came from strangers. She approached the large gate slowly. To her surprise, it was slightly open. Taking a deep breath, she slipped through and hurried up the long driveway toward the mansion's enormous front door. Her hands trembled as she raised them to knock, exhaustion and fear making her movements clumsy. She knocked 3 times, the sound echoing loudly against the heavy wooden door. For a moment, nothing happened. Sophia's heart sank, thinking no one would answer, that she would be left outside in the freezing storm with nowhere left to turn. Then slowly, the door opened. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Standing before her were not 1, but 3 men, and they looked almost exactly alike. Same sharp jawlines, same dark eyes, same powerful build beneath expensive black suits. For a moment, she thought her exhausted mind was playing tricks on her. The 3 men stared at her with equal intensity, their expressions shifting from surprise to something unreadable. One of them, slightly taller than the others with cold, calculating eyes, stepped forward first. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice sharp and commanding. Sophia's teeth chattered from the cold. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said weakly. "I got lost. Some men were chasing me, and I saw your lights. I just need somewhere safe for a moment, please." The second man, with a slightly softer expression and a charming smile that did not quite reach his eyes, studied her closely. "Chasing you? Who would be chasing a woman like you out here at this hour?" "I don't know exactly," Sophia admitted, too tired and scared to lie. "Debt collectors, I think. My father's debts. I really don't want any trouble. I just need to get warm and maybe use a phone." The third brother, silent until now, stepped closer, his sharp eyes studying her face with unusual intensity, almost as if he recognized something about her. He said nothing, but his stare made Sophia deeply uncomfortable, like he was looking straight through her. The 3 brothers exchanged a quick, strange glance between themselves, a silent conversation Sophia could not understand, but one that clearly meant something significant to them. "Come inside," the cold one finally said, stepping back to allow her entry. "Before you freeze out there." Sophia hesitated for only a second before stepping through the doorway into the warmth of the grand mansion. The moment she crossed the threshold, she felt an odd shift in the air, as if crossing some invisible line she could never uncross. Inside, the mansion was even more impressive than she imagined. High ceilings, expensive furniture, and an eerie silence that made her skin prickle with unease. Armed men stood quietly near the walls, watching her with sharp, alert eyes. This was not a normal home. This was something far more dangerous. "Thank you," Sophia said nervously, wrapping her arms around herself. "I really appreciate this. I'll just call for a ride and be out of your way as soon as possible." The 3 brothers looked at each other again, another silent exchange passing between them. Then the charming one stepped closer, his easy smile now edged with something darker. "About that," he said slowly, "there's something you should understand." Sophia's stomach twisted with unease. "What do you mean?" The cold brother stepped forward, his dark eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You knocked on the wrong door tonight," he said quietly, "and now that you're here, you cannot leave." Sophia's blood ran cold. "What? Why not? I don't understand." The silent brother finally spoke, his voice low and steady, his eyes never leaving her face. "Because the moment you walked through that door, everything changed. For all of us." Before Sophia could ask what he meant, the massive front door behind her slammed shut with a heavy, final sound, sealing her inside the mansion with 3 dangerous strangers, and a secret she had no idea she was already a part of. Sophia woke up slowly, her eyes blinking against soft morning light, filtering through tall curtains. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the memories rushed back, the storm, the mansion, the 3 identical men, the door slamming shut behind her. She sat up quickly, looking around. She was in a beautiful bedroom, far nicer than anything she had ever slept in. Someone had changed her wet clothes into a soft, warm nightgown while she slept, which sent an uncomfortable shiver through her body. She did not remember falling asleep at all. Her heart raced as she climbed out of bed and walked to the door. She tried the handle. "Locked. Of course," she muttered under her breath, panic beginning to rise in her chest. She knocked loudly on the door. "Hello? Can someone let me out, please?" A few moments later, she heard the lock click, and the door opened. Standing there was the charming brother from the night before, now dressed casually, but still radiating quiet danger. "Good morning," he said smoothly, a small smile on his lips. "Sleep well." "Where am I? Why was the door locked?" Sophia demanded, ignoring his casual tone. "Safety precautions," he said simply. "My name is Luca, by the way. I don't believe we were properly introduced last night." Sophia crossed her arms. "I don't care about introductions. I want to know why I can't leave." Luca's smile faded slightly, replaced by something more serious. "That's a longer conversation. Come, my brothers are waiting." Reluctantly, Sophia followed him through the mansion's long hallways, taking in the expensive artwork and heavy silence that seemed to hang over everything. They arrived at a large dining room where the other 2 brothers already sat waiting. The cold one from last night looked up first, his sharp eyes studying her carefully. "Sit," he said simply. It was not a request. Sophia hesitated, then sat down slowly, feeling like prey surrounded by predators. "I'm Dante," the cold brother said. "This is Luca, whom you've already met, and that's Enzo." He gestured toward the silent brother, who watched her with the same intense stare from the night before, saying nothing. "I appreciate the introductions," Sophia said carefully, "but I still don't understand why I'm being kept here against my will." Dante's jaw tightened. "It's complicated." "Try me," Sophia said, surprising herself with her own boldness despite her fear. The 3 brothers exchanged another one of their silent glances, clearly having some unspoken conversation among themselves. Finally, Luca spoke. "Our family has enemies, Sophia. Dangerous ones. The men who were chasing you last night. Do you know who they worked for?" Sophia shook her head. "Just debt collectors, I thought." "Those debt collectors work for the Moretti family," Dante said grimly. "A rival family that has been at war with ours for years." Sophia's stomach dropped. "I don't understand what that has to do with me." "The fact that Moretti's men were chasing you, on the exact night you ended up at our door, is not a coincidence we can ignore," Enzo said quietly, speaking for the first time since she had met him. His voice was calm, but there was something unsettling beneath it. "You think I planned this?" Sophia asked, shocked. "I didn't even know this mansion existed until last night." "We believe you," Dante said, surprising her. "But that doesn't change the danger. If Moretti's men were chasing you specifically, and you ended up here, they will assume you're connected to us now, whether it's true or not." Sophia felt panic rising in her chest. "So, because of some coincidence, I'm trapped here?" "For your own protection," Luca said gently, though his eyes remained sharp. "If you walk out that door now, Moretti's men will find you again. And this time, they won't just chase you. They'll use you against us." Sophia sat back in her chair, overwhelmed. "This doesn't make sense." Why would a rival family care about some random woman who wandered onto your property? The brothers exchanged another glance, this one heavier, more meaningful than before. Sophia noticed it immediately. There's something you're not telling me, she said quietly. Dante's expression hardened. There are things about your situation that even we don't fully understand yet, but we intend to find out. Before Sophia could press further, one of the mansion's guards rushed into the dining room, his face tense. Sir, we found something, he said, addressing Dante directly. In the East Wing storage room. You need to see this. Dante stood immediately, his sharp eyes flicking towards Sophia. Stay here. Luca, Enzo, watch her. He left quickly with the guard, leaving Sophia alone with the two remaining brothers, tension thick in the air. What did he find? Sophia asked nervously. Luca shrugged, though his relaxed posture seemed forced. We'll find out soon enough. Sophia looked at Enzo, who remained silent, his intense eyes studying her face like he was trying to solve a puzzle he could not quite understand. It made her deeply uncomfortable, yet strangely, not entirely afraid. Nearly 20 minutes passed in tense silence before Dante returned, his face pale with something Sophia had not seen from him before, genuine shock. He held an old, slightly damaged photograph in his hand, staring at it, then at Sophia, back and forth several times. What is it? Luca asked, standing quickly at his brother's unusual reaction. Dante walked forward slowly and placed the photograph on the table in front of Sophia without a word. Sophia looked down at the old photo, confusion turning to shock as she stared at the faded image. It showed a young woman who looked remarkably, almost identically like her, standing beside a man Sophia had never seen before, but who bore a striking resemblance to the triplets' own father, whose portrait hung in the mansion's main hallway. Who is this? Sophia whispered, her voice shaking. Dante's eyes were dark and serious as he answered. That's the question we've been asking ourselves for the last 20 minutes. Because whoever she is, she looks exactly like you. Sophia stared at the old photograph, her hands trembling slightly as she picked it up for a closer look. The woman in the picture had the same curls, the same eyes, even the same small dimple on her left cheek that Sophia had always considered unique to herself. This isn't possible, she whispered. I've never seen this woman before in my life. Dante watched her closely, his expression unreadable. Turn it over. There's writing on the back. Sophia flipped the photograph over with shaking fingers. Faded handwriting read, Elena and Marco, summer 1998. Marco, Sophia repeated quietly. That name, my mother used to mention someone named Marco. She never told me who he was. She always changed the subject whenever I asked. Luca leaned forward, his charming demeanor now replaced with serious focus. Marco is our father's name. Sophia's head snapped up, shock written clearly across her face. Your father. He passed away 8 years ago, Enzo said quietly, speaking again after his long silence. Before that, our mother often spoke about a woman our father knew before he married her. Someone named Elena. She said Elena disappeared suddenly, years before we were born. Sophia felt dizzy, the pieces slowly connecting in her mind despite her disbelief. My mother's name was Elena, she said softly. She passed away 3 years ago. She never mentioned any mafia family, or any man named Marco directly. She just never talked about my father at all. I always assumed he left us, or worse. The room fell into heavy silence as the weight of this revelation settled over all 4 of them. Are you saying, Sophia said slowly, her voice shaking, that your father might be my father too? Dante's jaw tightened, his eyes carefully studying her face for any sign of deception. It would explain why Moretti's men were specifically targeting you. If they discovered a hidden connection between you and our family, they could use that information as a powerful weapon against us. This is insane, Sophia said, standing up abruptly, her mind racing. Yesterday, I was just trying to escape debt collectors. Now you're telling me I might be secretly related to a mafia family. We don't know anything for certain yet, Luca said gently, trying to calm her rising panic. But the resemblance, the names, the timing, it's too much to be coincidence. Sophia paced the room, her thoughts spinning wildly. If this was true, if she truly shared blood with the Rossi family, everything about her life made a strange, painful sense. The mysterious debts her father supposedly left behind, her mother's constant fear and secrecy, the sudden danger from strangers she never understood. "I need to know the truth," Sophia finally said, turning to face the brothers directly. "All of it. No more secrets." Dante nodded slowly. "We'll investigate further. Quietly. If Moretti's family learns we're looking into this before we have concrete answers, they'll use the uncertainty against us even more aggressively." Meanwhile, across the city, in a dark and heavily guarded office, the head of the Moretti family sat behind a large desk, reviewing reports from his men with a calculating expression. His name was Salvatore Moretti, a dangerous and ambitious man who had spent years trying to destroy the Rossi family's power. "The woman entered the Rossi mansion last night," one of his men reported. "She hasn't left since." Salvatore's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Interesting. Do we know who she is?" "Not yet, sir. But our informant inside the mansion says the brothers seem unusually invested in her. More than typical hospitality would explain." Salvatore leaned back in his chair, a slow, calculating smile spreading across his face. "Find out everything about her. Background, family history, everything. If the Rossi brothers care about her this much, she could become very useful to us." "Yes, sir," the man said, quickly leaving to carry out his orders. Salvatore turned to look out his office window at the city lights below, his mind already forming new, dangerous plans. "Let's see how much you're willing to sacrifice for a stranger, Dante," he murmured quietly to himself. Back at the Rossi mansion, Sophia sat alone in the room she had been given, staring blankly at the wall, her mind still reeling from the day's revelations. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she said quietly. Enzo entered, closing the door gently behind him. He had barely spoken to her directly since her arrival, and his sudden presence surprised her. "I wanted to make sure you were all right," he said simply, his usually guarded eyes showing a hint of genuine concern. "I don't know what all right even means right now," Sophia admitted honestly. "Everything I thought I knew about my life might be completely wrong." Enzo sat down across from her, his intense gaze studying her carefully. "I understand that feeling more than you might realize. Our family's world isn't simple either. Secrets, danger, responsibility. It's a heavy weight to carry." Sophia looked at him curiously. Unlike his brothers, Enzo rarely showed his emotions openly. Yet right now, something vulnerable flickered behind his dark eyes. "Why are you being kind to me?" Sophia asked softly. "Your brothers are protective, cautious. But you barely know me. Yet you seem to actually care." Enzo hesitated before answering. Maybe because, for the first time in a long while, someone else understands what it feels like to have your entire world turned upside down in a single moment. Before Sophia could respond, a loud alarm suddenly blared throughout the mansion, red emergency lights flashing down every hallway. Enzo's expression instantly hardened, his protective instincts taking over completely. "Stay here," he ordered firmly, standing quickly. "What's happening?" Sophia asked, fear creeping back into her voice. Enzo moved toward the door, his hand instinctively going toward a hidden weapon at his side. He looked back at her, his eyes serious and alert. "Security breach," he said grimly. "Someone just breached the mansion's outer gates." The alarm continued blaring through the mansion as Enzo rushed out, leaving Sophia alone in the room, her heart pounding with fear. She could hear shouting from downstairs, followed by the sound of quick, heavy footsteps running through the hallways. Minutes felt like hours as she sat frozen, unsure whether to hide or try to help somehow. Finally, the alarm stopped, replaced by an eerie, tense silence. A soft knock came at her door. "It's me," Dante's voice called out. "It's safe now." Sophia opened the door quickly, relief washing over her. "What happened?" "Someone tried to breach the outer security gates," Dante explained, his expression tense but controlled. "Our men stopped them before they got close to the mansion itself. But it confirms our fears. Moretti already suspects something about your presence here." Sophia felt a fresh wave of fear settle in her chest. This is because of me. This is because of Moretti's greed and paranoia, Dante corrected firmly. None of this is your fault. Over the following days, the mansion existed in a state of careful tension. Guards doubled at every entrance, and the brothers spent long hours in private meetings, clearly working to figure out their next move against the Moretti threat. During this time, Sophia found herself spending time individually with each of the three brothers, and slowly, despite everything, she began noticing changes in how they treated her, and in how she felt about each of them. Luca often sought her out during quiet afternoons, bringing her books or simply sitting with her, making easy conversation that helped distract her from her worries. His charm, once suspicious to her, now felt genuine and comforting. You know, Luca said one afternoon, sitting across from her in the mansion's library, you're handling all of this far better than most people would. Sophia smiled slightly. I don't feel like I'm handling it well at all. You're still standing, Luca said gently. That counts for more than you think. Something warm settled in Sophia's chest at his words, though she quickly reminded herself of the danger and complexity surrounding her situation. Dante, meanwhile, remained more guarded, but Sophia noticed small moments where his cold exterior cracked slightly, a lingering glance, a softer tone when he checked on her well-being, an unusual patience whenever she asked difficult questions. One evening, as she stood on the mansion's balcony, watching the sunset, Dante joined her quietly. You've been quiet today, he observed. Just thinking, Sophia admitted, about everything. My mother, this mansion, your father, whether any of this is even real. Dante was silent for a moment before speaking. I know this situation is overwhelming. I know I haven't made it easier with how I've treated you since you arrived. Sophia looked at him, surprised by his admission. You were protecting your family. I understand that. That doesn't excuse how cold I've been, Dante said, his usually controlled expression softening slightly. You didn't ask for any of this, yet you've handled it with more strength than most people in your position would. Sophia felt her heart race slightly at his words, confused by the sudden vulnerability in his tone. Then there was Enzo, quiet and reserved, yet increasingly present in small, meaningful ways. He often appeared exactly when she needed someone most, offering silent company rather than words, understanding her need for space in a way his brothers sometimes did not. One night, unable to sleep, Sophia wandered down to the mansion's quiet kitchen, finding Enzo already there, sitting alone with a cup of coffee. Couldn't sleep either? She asked, sitting across from him. Enzo shook his head slightly. This life doesn't allow much peaceful sleep. Sophia studied him curiously. Can I ask you something personal? Enzo nodded silently. Do you regret this life? The danger, the responsibility, all of it? Enzo considered her question seriously before answering. Sometimes, but there are moments that make it feel worth carrying. His eyes met hers meaningfully as he said this, leaving Sophia's heart racing once again. As days passed, Sophia found herself increasingly torn, confused by her growing feelings toward all three brothers. It felt impossible, almost absurd, yet undeniable. Meanwhile, tension began rising between the triplets themselves. Late one evening, Sophia overheard raised voices from behind a closed study door and paused outside, unable to stop herself from listening. This isn't just about protecting her anymore, Luca's voice said sharply. We all know what's happening here. It doesn't matter what's happening, Dante's voice replied firmly. Our priority is her safety and dealing with Moretti, nothing else. You can't tell me you haven't noticed how you look at her, Luca pressed. None of us can deny it anymore. There was a tense silence before Enzo's calm voice finally spoke. Fighting each other over this will only weaken us further. We need to handle Moretti first. Whatever this is between us and Sophia, it can wait. Sophia stepped back quietly from the door, her heart pounding, overwhelmed by what she had just overheard. The brothers, dangerous and powerful as they were each developing real feelings for her, and the tension it created between them was becoming impossible to ignore. The following morning, Dante called Sophia into his private study, his expression serious. We've uncovered new information, he said, about your mother, and about what really happened between her and our father all those years ago. Sophia sat down slowly, bracing herself. Tell me. Dante took a deep breath. Our father and your mother were deeply involved once, years before he met our mother. But something forced them apart suddenly. Something dangerous enough that your mother fled the city entirely, changing her identity to protect herself and you. Sophia's breath caught. Protect me from what? Dante's expression turned grim. From the same family currently trying to destroy us. Elena, your mother. She wasn't just involved with our father, Sophia. She held information dangerous enough to threaten Moretti's entire empire. Information that, if Moretti ever suspected you carried it too, would put your life in serious, immediate danger. Sophia sat frozen in Dante's study, trying to process what she had just heard. Her mother, Elena, had once held dangerous information about the Moretti family. Information powerful enough to threaten their entire criminal empire. What kind of information? Sophia asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't know exactly, Dante admitted. Our father never fully explained it, even to us. But whatever it was serious enough that your mother had to disappear completely to survive. Sophia's mind raced back to her childhood, her mother's constant nervousness, the way she always checked locks twice, the way she flinched at unexpected knocks on their door. It all made painful sense now. If Moretti believes I might know something, or have access to whatever my mother hid, Sophia said slowly, then I'm not just accidentally involved in your family's war. I'm a direct target. Dante nodded grimly. Which is exactly why we cannot let you leave, especially now. Moretti will stop at nothing to find out what you know, even if the answer is nothing at all. Before Sophia could respond further, Luca burst into the study, his expression uncharacteristically tense. We have a serious problem, he said urgently. One of our own security guards has been feeding information to Moretti's men. We just caught him trying to access private family files. Dante's expression darkened instantly. Which guard? Marco Bellini. 5 years with our family, Luca said grimly. He's been reporting Sophia's presence here since the very first night. Sophia's stomach twisted painfully. So Moretti has known about me from the beginning? It appears so, Dante said, his jaw tightening with barely controlled anger. Enzo entered the room moments later, his expression unusually intense. I just received word. Moretti is planning something big. Tonight, our informant inside his organization confirmed it. What kind of plan? Dante asked sharply. They intend to breach the mansion directly, Enzo said. Not just for information this time. They want Sophia. Sophia felt her blood run cold. They're coming for me. Tonight. We won't let that happen, Luca said firmly, moving closer to her protectively. The brothers quickly began organizing their defenses, calling in additional guards, securing every entrance, and preparing weapons throughout the mansion. Sophia watched, overwhelmed, as the calm household she had grown somewhat used to transformed rapidly into a fortress bracing for war. As night fell, tension inside the mansion grew unbearable. Sophia sat in the mansion's safest interior room, guarded closely by Enzo, while Dante and Luca coordinated the mansion's defenses outside. Are you scared? Enzo asked quietly, noticing her trembling hands. Terrified, Sophia admitted honestly. This is because of me. If something happens to any of you tonight, none of this is your fault, Enzo interrupted firmly. Moretti has wanted to destroy our family long before you arrived. You're just the excuse he's finally found to act. Suddenly, gunfire erupted outside, shattering the tense silence. Sophia jumped, fear coursing through her veins. Enzo immediately positioned himself protectively between her and the door, weapon ready. Shouts and chaos echoed through the mansion's hallways as Moretti's men attempted to breach the building. Sophia could hear Dante's voice shouting orders somewhere in the distance, followed by more gunfire and shattering glass. Stay behind me, Enzo ordered firmly, his calm demeanor now replaced with sharp, focused intensity. The door to their room suddenly burst open. 2 armed men rushed in, clearly Moretti soldiers. Enzo reacted instantly, engaging them in a brutal, swift fight. Sophia backed into a corner, watching in terror as Enzo skillfully disarmed one attacker before being struck hard by the second, stumbling backward from the impact. Fear overtook Sophia's hesitation. Grabbing a heavy decorative vase from a nearby table, she swung it hard against the second attacker's head just as he raised his weapon toward Enzo. The man collapsed, momentarily stunned. Enzo looked at her in surprised admiration, despite the danger surrounding them. "Remind me never to underestimate you again," he said breathlessly, before quickly securing both attackers. Elsewhere in the mansion, Dante and Luca fought fiercely alongside their loyal men, pushing back Moretti's forces with practiced precision. After what felt like an eternity of chaos, the gunfire finally began slowing, then stopped completely. Dante's voice echoed through the mansion. "Area secure. Regroup." Sophia rushed out with Enzo to find Luca and Dante, both breathing heavily but unharmed, standing amid the aftermath of the brief but intense battle. "Is everyone safe?" Sophia asked urgently, checking each brother for injuries. "We're fine," Dante said, though exhaustion was clear on his face. Moretti's men retreated once they realized their surprise attack failed. "This won't be the last attempt," Luca added grimly. "Moretti won't stop until he gets what he wants." Sophia looked between the three brothers, overwhelmed by everything that had just happened. "I can't keep putting all of you in danger like this." "You're not putting us in danger," Enzo said firmly. "Moretti's greed and cruelty are responsible for tonight, not you." As they secured the mansion and dealt with the aftermath of Marco Bellini's betrayal, Dante turned to Sophia, his expression serious, yet oddly gentle. "We need to end this, once and for all," he said. "Moretti won't stop coming after you, after us, until his threat is completely eliminated." "How do you plan to do that?" Sophia asked nervously. Dante's eyes hardened with fierce determination. "We're going to confront Moretti directly, and this time, we finish this war permanently." The mansion buzzed with quiet tension the next morning as Dante, Luca, and Enzo prepared for their final confrontation with Moretti. Sophia watched them move with sharp, focused purpose, checking weapons, reviewing plans, speaking in low, serious tones with their most trusted men. "I want to come with you," Sophia said suddenly, standing in the doorway of the war room. All three brothers turned to look at her in surprise. "Absolutely not," Dante said immediately. "It's too dangerous." "This is about me," Sophia argued firmly. "Whatever information my mother hid, whatever Moretti thinks I know, I deserve to understand the truth, and I deserve to face this with you, not hide here while you risk your lives." Luca stepped forward gently. "Sophia, we can't risk losing you now. Not after everything." "You won't lose me," Sophia said, her voice steady despite her fear. "But I refuse to keep hiding while all of you fight a war that started because of my family's past." Enzo studied her carefully, something like respect flickering behind his intense eyes. "She's not wrong. If Moretti sees her standing beside us, unafraid, it sends its own message." After a tense discussion, the brothers reluctantly agreed to bring Sophia along, though heavily protected at all times. They arrived at Moretti's heavily guarded estate just as the sun began setting, casting long shadows across the imposing grounds. Salvatore Moretti stood waiting on his front steps, flanked by several armed men, an arrogant smile spreading across his face as they approached. "Dante Rossi," Salvatore said smoothly, "and you brought the girl. How convenient." "This ends today, Salvatore," Dante said coldly. "Whatever you think Sophia knows, whatever information you believe her mother hid from you, it's time to put it to rest, permanently." Salvatore's smile widened cruelly. "Oh, I know exactly what Elena hid from me. Financial records. Proof of illegal deals that could destroy my family's standing with authorities and rivals alike. Records she stole right before disappearing all those years ago." Sophia stepped forward despite her fear. "I don't have any of that. I didn't even know any of this existed until a few days ago." "Perhaps not directly," Salvatore said, studying her intently. "But your mother was clever. If she hid those records somewhere, she likely left clues only her daughter would understand." Sophia's mind raced, memories flashing rapidly. Her mother's old, worn journals she had never fully understood, hidden away in a box she had kept but never opened after her mother's passing. There might be something, Sophia said slowly, realization dawning in her voice. My mother kept a journal. I never understood most of it. I always assumed it was just her private thoughts. Salvatore's eyes lit up greedily. Bring it to me, and this war ends immediately. No, Dante said firmly, stepping protectively in front of Sophia. We're not handing over anything until you agree to end this conflict completely and guarantee Sophia's safety permanently. Tense negotiations followed, filled with distrust and calculated threats from both sides. Eventually, an agreement was reached. The journal would be examined together, under careful, mutual supervision, ensuring neither side could use the information as a future weapon against the other. Days later, back at the Rossi mansion, Sophia finally opened her mother's old journal in the presence of the three brothers and a carefully monitored Moretti representative. Inside, hidden cleverly among personal notes and memories, they found detailed records exposing illegal financial dealings deep enough to threaten Moretti's entire criminal empire if ever made public. With careful negotiation, the Rossi brothers used this leverage not for revenge, but for lasting peace, forcing Moretti into a permanent truce, ending years of dangerous rivalry between the two families once and for all. As the danger finally faded, Sophia found herself standing on the mansion's balcony one quiet evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in soft orange and pink hues. She heard familiar footsteps approaching and turned to find all three brothers standing together, watching her with matching expressions of relief and something deeper. It's over, Dante said quietly. Truly over. Thanks to you, Luca added, a genuine smile on his face. Enzo stepped closer, his usually guarded expression completely open for the first time since she had met him. Sophia, we need to talk about what happens now. Sophia looked between the three brothers, her heart racing with uncertainty and hope. What do you mean? You came here as a stranger, running from danger, Dante said honestly. We told you that you could never leave, not truly understanding why ourselves at first, but now we understand completely. Your family, Lucas said softly, whether by blood, through our father's past, or simply through everything we've faced together, you belong here now. Enzo took her hand gently, his intense eyes searching her seriously. But more than that, Sophia, each of us has grown to care for you deeply. Differently, perhaps, but genuinely. We understand that's complicated, unconventional, even dangerous in its own way. Sophia's heart pounded as she looked at each brother individually. Dante's quiet strength, Luca's warm charm, Enzo's deep, silent understanding. Somehow, impossibly, she realized she cared for all three of them in return, each in their own unique way. I came here that night with nowhere else to go, Sophia said softly, tears of relief and happiness filling her eyes. I never expected to find a home, let alone one filled with so much unexpected love. Does that mean you'll stay? Dante asked, his usually controlled voice carrying a rare note of vulnerability. Sophia smiled through her tears, looking at each brother in turn. You once told me I could never leave. Now, I don't ever want to. The three brothers exchanged relieved, warm smiles, finally allowing themselves to fully embrace the unexpected happiness they had found together. Sophia stepped forward, embraced by all three in a warm, protective circle, finally feeling completely safe and at home for the first time in years. From that night forward, the mansion that once represented danger and uncertainty became something entirely different for Sophia, a place of genuine belonging, unexpected love, and true, lasting family. She had knocked on that door as a frightened stranger, seeking shelter from the storm. She stayed as someone who had finally, truly, found where she belonged.